In this vocabulary masterclass, you're going to learn 600 words for your daily speech to help you sound fluent and natural like a native speaker. I'm Jennifer from JForrest English. Now let's get started. First, let's start with some greetings that you must know to understand native speakers and to sound natural yourself. How's it going? How's it going?
How's it going?
This is how a native speaker will say, how are you to a friend, a colleague, a family member. How's it going? And if two people haven't seen each other for a longer period of time, you can add on, how's it going? Long time no see. Long time no see. You could reverse them. Long time no see. How's it going?
Hey, long time no see.
Here's one that native speakers love, but it confuses students. What have you been up to lately or recently? This is in the present perfect. What have you been up to? Up to just means doing. What have you been up to lately or recently? And you can use all of these together. How's it going? Long time no see. What have you been up to lately? You will sound so natural. Now let's talk about how to answer these greetings. How's it going? It's going, and then your adjective. It's going great. Long time no see. You can confirm this by saying, I know, too long. I know it's been a long time since we last saw each other. I know, too long.
It's been too long.
Now, although what have you been up to lately recently is a long question, generally native speakers will answer by saying, not too much, not too much. And then for all of these, you can add on and you to get the reply from the person you're talking to. Now let's talk about how to say thank you like a native speaker. Thanks so much. Now notice, instead of thank you, I'm saying thanks. You need that S. It is required grammatically. Thanks so much. Thanks a million. Thanks a bunch. These are simply alternative ways to say thank you very much.
Thanks a bunch.
Two of my favorite ways to say thank you are simply by saying you're the best. You're the best. I also say you rock. You rock.
You rock.
So if you want to sound very natural, you can use those two. You could also say I really appreciate it. Or you could say, that's so nice of you. That's so kind of you. You can use nice or kind, it doesn't matter. So if you're enjoying this video, why don't you show appreciation right now? Use one of these expressions, whichever one is your favorite, and put it in the comments. Thanks a bunch, Jennifer. You rock, Jennifer. You're the best, Jennifer. Put that in the comments to show appreciation for this video and to sound very natural. How about to say you're welcome? My favorite and one that's very common is simply no worries. No worries. No worries at all.
No worries.
You could say happy to help or my pleasure. Or you could say anytime. Notice it's one word, anytime. Anytime.
Anytime.
And I will reply back to your comment saying thank you with one of these natural expressions saying you're welcome in a very natural way. Now, when it's time to say bye, you can say take care, take care.
Take care.
If someone is getting into a vehicle, you can say drive safe or drive safely.
Drive safe.
Now, technically, grammatically, you need the adverb, which is safely, but native speakers use drive safe more than drive safely. So you will absolutely hear both. Drive safe, drive safely. You can say talk soon, or see you soon.
See you soon.
Now let's say someone offers you something like a drink or a piece of cake, but you want to say no, you want to decline it. but you want to do it politely. You can say, I'm good, but thanks anyway. It's nice to add appreciation. I'm good, but thanks anyway.
No thanks, I'm good.
None for me, but thanks anyway. I'll pass, but thanks.
I'll pass.
So definitely add on that but thanks or but thanks anyway to sound very polite. When you're requesting help, you can say, can you give me a hand? Give me a hand.
Give me a hand.
You can say, do you mind? And then you need a gerund verb. Do you mind helping me out? Native speakers like to turn help into a phrasal verb, help out. Do you mind helping me out? One I use a lot is got a sec, got a sec. Sec is short for second, which represents a small amount of time that you can make available for me. Got a sec?
You got a sec?
So let me try these expressions with you. Got a sec? Do you mind helping me out by liking this video, sharing it with your friends, and subscribing? It would really help me out. Now, if you're offering help to someone else, you can say, need a hand. But notice you do the rising intonation to make it sound like a question. Need a hand?
Need a hand?
Or you can say it as a statement, and you can say, I can give you a hand with that. And then you can give them a hand. You can help them out. Or as a statement, you can say, let me help you with that. Let me help you with that. And then you can pick up that heavy box and help your friend out.
Let me help you with that.
It's Friday, so let's talk about the weekend. You can ask someone, what are you up to this weekend? Again, notice that up to at the beginning. What have you been up to lately or recently? And now I'm asking you, what are you up to this weekend?
So what are you up to this weekend?
It's very common to ask any plans this weekend. And again, rising intonation to show it's a question.
So do you have any plans this weekend?
I love the expression on the go. Anything on the go this weekend? It's simply an alternative to plans. Now, if you want to arrange social plans, you can ask, are you free? Are you free on Saturday? You can make a statement and say, we should hang out soon. We should hang out soon. Hang out is when you interact with someone socially. We should hang out soon. Native speakers love using the verb grab. Do you want to grab coffee? Grab dinner?
Do you want to grab dinner sometime?
And then you can add your time reference, tonight. Do you want to grab coffee tonight? Now, if you're arranging a business meeting, you can still use are you free? You might add the verb to meet. Are you free to meet? And then a specific time, because a meeting takes place at a very specific time. On Thursday at 2:00 p.m. You could say, I'm available on Thursday at 2:00 p.m. and then ask, does that work? Does that work for you? Or you could ask, what works best for you? What works best for you?
Well, whatever works best for you, Bill.
Now let's say you want to ask for clarification. You could say, sorry, I didn't catch that. I didn't catch that.
Sorry, I didn't catch that.
Sorry, what does X mean? And then X is whatever the word is that you don't understand. Or you could clarify by saying, sorry, what do you mean by X? If you're having trouble understanding someone, you need to be honest. You can say, could you speak up a little? Speak up means speak louder. Could you speak up a little? I'm having trouble hearing you.
Could you speak up, please?
If they're speaking too quickly, you can say, could you slow down a little? I'm having difficulty understanding you.
Oh, slow down, slow down, slow down.
Now let's say you want to confirm understanding of either something you've said or something the other person has said. You can say, Do you know what I mean? So you explain something and then say, do you know what I mean?
Know what I mean? Oh, I know what you mean.
Does that make sense to you?
Does that make sense?
Or you can simply shorten that and say makes sense with a rising intonation. These two you need to put in your vocabulary. Does that sound good to you? Does that sound good to you? And then native speakers will often shorten that just to sound good with a rising intonation.
Sound good? Sounds great.
There's one idiom you could use, and that's to be on the same page. So you could say, are we on the same page? And this is used to say that you agree or that you have a shared understanding. For example, I could say, JForrest English is a great resource to help you become fluent. Are we on the same page? Do you agree? Do we have a shared understanding? Now, if you do agree, you can say, we're on the same page. We're on the same page, Jennifer. So put that in the comments to show that you agree. We're on the same page.
We're 100% on the same page.
Are you enjoying this lesson? If you are, then I want to tell you about the Finally Fluent Academy. This is my premium training program where we study native English speakers from TV, the movies, YouTube, and the news so you can improve your listening skills of fast English, expand your vocabulary with natural expressions, and learn advanced grammar easily. Plus, you'll have me as your personal coach. You can look in the description for the link to learn more, or you can go to my website and click on Finally Fluent Academy. Now let's continue with our lesson. Now every single day I say, I don't know for various reasons, and I'm sure you do too. But there are many different ways that you can say, I don't know, to help you sound more advanced, more fluent, and to also help you understand native speakers because we use a lot of alternatives. So let's learn over 30 different ways that you can say, I don't know, like a native speaker. First, let's talk about some everyday ways that you can say, I don't know. You can use these in more casual situations and professional situations. So let's say your friend or coworker asks you a random question like, how far away is the sun? And you don't know the answer. How can you reply? The most popular answer would be, I have no idea. And this is really to stress the fact that you have no knowledge on the topic. Remember, the question is, how far away is the sun? I have no idea. Now, we can also shorten this and simply say, no idea.
I have no idea.
No idea?
Another common answer is, I'm not sure. I'm not sure. Now, you can expand on this and you can say, I'm not too sure. I'm not too sure. I'm not too sure about that. That meaning the question. I'm not too sure about how far away the sun is.
Not sure about that. Not sure about what?
A fun one is simply to say, who knows? Who knows? Seriously, who knows? Do you know? Who knows? You could say, your guess is as good as mine. It's implying that you also don't know the answer. Your guess is as good as mine.
Well, your guess is as good as mine.
I created a free lesson PDF that summarizes all the different ways to say, I don't know. You can look in the description or the comment section for the link. Now, another one with the word guess is, if I had to guess, I'd say. So you're letting the person know that your answer could be completely wrong. So how far away is the sun? If I had to guess, I'd say 100 million miles? I don't know. Am I right? You let me know in the comments if I'm right. You could say, I wish I knew. That's an interesting piece of knowledge. I wish I knew. But I don't. I wish I knew. I wish I could help you. I wish I could help you with that. I wish I could answer that for you, but I can't.
I wish I knew, Robin. I wish I knew.
You could also say, I can't help you with that one. I can't help you with that question. You could say, that's an interesting question, but, and then use any of the expressions we just learned. That's an interesting question, but I have no idea. You could also just say, I've never thought about that before, which is probably true. A common way to answer that question now is simply to take out your phone and say, hey Siri, how far away is the sun? Hey, I was actually pretty close. It was 149 million miles away, and I said 100 million miles, and I completely guessed. I'm pretty proud of that. So that's a great way to answer. Just ask Siri or Alexa or whoever else. There are two very common idioms that you can use. The first idiom is beats me. That beats me, but we commonly get rid of that and simply say beats me. And that's the same as saying I have no idea. Beats me. The other idiom is I haven't the slightest idea. And the slightest is this much, the smallest amount possible, but you're saying you don't even have that. So it's another way of saying I have no idea. I haven't the slightest idea. Now, instead of slightest, you could say foggiest or faintest, and it means the exact same thing. Or you can say, I haven't a clue, which also means the same thing. So they're just slight changes to the same idiom, and they're very commonly used.
Because I haven't the foggiest idea why. I mean, look at me.
Now let's talk about some more professional expressions that you can use when you're asked a question but you don't know the answer. So let's say your boss asks you how many units of a specific product were sold last month. You could reply back and say, when do you need to know by? And your boss will likely say an hour, 2 hours, tomorrow, next week, and tell you when they need the information. Now, if they say right now, I need it right now, then you can reply back and say, let me get that for you. Get that being the answer, the information. Or you could say, let me find out. Let me look into this. Instead of let me, you could also say I will. As a contraction, I'll find out. I'll look into this. I'll let you know. I'll get back to you. Another way to reply is to say, I need to check something and then I'll get back to you. So you're letting the person know that you just need to do something first. Instead of check, you could say, I need to confirm something, I need to verify something, I need to look into something and get back to you. You can also specify a specific time or date when you'll have the information. Let me look into this and I'll get back to you by 2 o'clock, by the end of the day, by tomorrow, by next week. And let the person know.
Let me look into it.
Now, if you do want to admit that you don't know the answer now, you could say something like, I'm not sure offhand. So offhand is just an expression we use to mean right now. I'm not sure offhand. Let me look into this and I'll get back to you by 2 o'clock. Does that work for you? And you can add, does that work for you? To clarify that getting back to them with the information by 2 o'clock is acceptable. Your boss will likely say, sure, no problem. Or they might say, no, I have a meeting in 10 minutes and I need this information. Well, then of course you say, no problem, I'll find out right now and get back to you in a few minutes. Of course, by the deadline your boss just told you. Now, instead of saying, I'm not sure offhand, which again is just an expression, I'm not sure offhand, you could say, I'm not sure off the top of my head. So again, this is another way of just saying right now. Off the top of my head, I'm not sure. Let me find out and I'll email you the information in 10 minutes. So you could also use in and a time reference, in 10 minutes, in an hour, in 20 minutes. Or you could simply say ASAP. I'm not sure off the top of my head. Let me check and I'll get back to you ASAP. That means as soon as possible. You can also say ASAP. There's two different ways to say it, ASAP or ASAP. They're both acceptable. I think ASAP is more common though. I'll get back to you ASAP.
I'll look into it and get back to you.
ASAP.
Amazing job. Now let's keep going and talk about more advanced ways that you can say goodbye to again help you sound very fluent and natural and help you understand native speakers. Let's do that now. You can absolutely say bye or goodbye. It's grammatically correct. The problem is that it sounds very formal and native speakers don't really say goodbye. We say goodbye, but then we add on a natural expression. So let's talk about natural expressions you can use in everyday situations like shopping, at the grocery store, at a restaurant, or dealing with a customer service agent. You can say bye, but then add on take care. Bye, take care. Now you can also say take care and then bye. Take care, bye. Or you can simply say take care.
Take care.
You can say have a good and then whatever the time reference is. Have a good day, morning, afternoon, evening, night. Or you can say have a good one, which is general to any situation. Have a good one. Bye. Take care.
Have a good one.
A quick tip is that native speakers commonly combine multiple expressions like I just did. Bye, take care, have a good night. It's very common to use 2, 3, or more expressions, so feel free to combine them. Now you can replace the adjective good with a different adjective. Have a wonderful day. Have a fabulous afternoon. Have a fantastic weekend. You can say bye for now, which implies that you're going to see that person again. Bye for now. Or you can say enjoy the rest of, and then the time period. Enjoy the rest of your day, your night, your evening, your weekend, your vacation.
Enjoy the rest of your evening.
Now, I created a free lesson PDF that summarizes all the greetings from this lesson. You can look for the link in the description or the comment section below. Now let's talk about saying goodbye to your friends. The most common is see you soon, see you later. A common one is also talk soon. Bye, talk soon.
See you later.
I'll see you later.
Now, if you have a future date planned with that friend, you can say, see you next weekend, see you tomorrow, see you at the party, and reference that next event. You can add can't wait to add some excitement. Can't wait to see you next weekend. Can't wait to see you at the party. You can say, bye, it was so nice seeing you. Instead of so nice, you can add, it was awesome, it was amazing, it was wonderful, it was lovely. And instead of seeing you, you can add, it was lovely catching up, it was lovely having dinner, it was lovely chatting. So you can add different alternatives to that expression. If your friend is getting into a vehicle, you can add bye, drive safe, bye, have a safe trip, be well. Now, if you don't have a next date planned with your friend, you can add something to show you want to see them again. Bye, let's catch up soon. Don't be a stranger. Keep in touch. This is a very common one. Bye, keep in touch, take care. Now let's talk about some more informal slang expressions. You can use these with your friends, your family, or even with your coworkers, as long as it's a more informal situation. We commonly use gotta, got to, gotta. I gotta go, I gotta jet, I gotta head out, I gotta take off, I gotta hit the road, I gotta get going.
It's my 6 o'clock. I got a jet.
You can also say catch you later, which just means see you later. Catch you later. And notice I took you and reduced it to ya. Catch you later. Catch you later. Sometimes we just say later, later. A fun expression is catch you on the flip side. I have no idea what the flip side is, but catch you on the flip side. Catch you on the flippity flip.
I'll catch you on the flippity flip. Bye.
Some people say peace out. I personally have never said this, but I do hear it a lot from some other speakers. Peace out or simply peace. So if that suits your personality, you can use that one.
Peace out!
One of the most common informal expressions is just see ya. So we take see you later and we reduce it to see ya.
Okay, bye.
See ya.
Bye-bye. Let's talk about some expressions you can use with your husband, wife, boyfriend, girlfriend, significant other, spouse, life partner. Bye, my love, my love. And we say it in such a nice voice. Bye, my love. I miss you already. I like that one. I miss you already, even though they're right there. I miss you already. Bye, my love.
I miss you already.
I miss you too!
Now we can use our pet name for each other. Bye, sweetheart. Bye, sweetie. Bye, cuddle bear. Bye, my darling. Or whatever your romantic name for each other is. And if you have young kids, you can use this really cute expression, which goes, see you later, alligator. Do you know what comes next? In a while, crocodile. But just use that one with young children. Now let's talk about professional expressions that you can use at work, in a job interview, a networking event, or conference. By looking forward to seeing you again soon. Looking forward to working together. So notice the gerund verb we need. You can also use a noun, looking forward to the conference, looking forward to the project. If you're meeting someone for the first time, you can say, bye, it was a pleasure. It was a pleasure meeting you. It was nice talking to you. In a job interview, we generally express appreciation. Thank you so much for this opportunity. I look forward to hearing from you. The interviewer will also express appreciation. Thank you so much for coming today. I appreciate your time. Thank you so much for your time today. We'll be in touch shortly. Notice that expression, in touch. We'll be in touch soon. We'll be in touch shortly. Superiors can add some words of encouragement by keep up the good work, the great work, the amazing work. Or they might say, if you need me, I'm a phone call away. By, if you need me, I'm a phone call away. You know where to find me, which is letting you know you can just text me. You know where to find me. I'll be on my phone. You know where to find me. Or a common one in the office is, by, my door's always open. And that's encouraging you to come back if you want to discuss anything or if you need help.
My door is always open.
You're doing such a great job. Now, one of the best ways to understand native speakers and to sound more fluent and natural is to use idioms. There are so many idioms in the English language, and right now you are going to learn 50 of the most common that you can use daily. Let's do that now. To play something by ear. This is when you make a decision in the moment rather than planning in advance. So let's say you're talking about your weekend and your husband or your friend says, what do you want to do this weekend? And you might say, let's play it by ear. Let's decide as the weekend happens, not in advance. Let's play it by ear. To be all ears. We use this to say that you're ready to listen and you're paying full attention. So let's say you tell your boss you want to discuss something important about the project, and your boss replies, I'm all ears. I'm all ears. To wake up on the wrong side of the bed. This is a great one. We've all done this. It's when you wake up in a bad mood. You wake up grumpy. So let's say you wake up, you go in the kitchen, and your wife, your husband says, "Oh, hi, honey, how are you? Would you like some coffee? What do you want for breakfast?" And you're grumpy. I don't care. Where's my phone? And you're being grumpy. Well, then your wife, your husband can say, "Well, someone woke up on the wrong side of the bed." And that's just to let you know you're being grumpy. To wing something. When you wing something, you perform a speech or presentation without planning in advance. So you definitely don't want to wing your IELTS exam, right? To make a mountain out of a molehill. A molehill is really small, a mountain is really big. So it's when you take a minor problem or issue and you make it seem really serious or severe. So let's say you got one question wrong on a test and you're acting like it's extremely serious. Someone could say, "Don't make a mountain out of a molehill." They're letting you know it's really not that bad. To be at a crossroads. This is when you have to make a really important decision that could impact your life. Let's say you've been a graphic designer for 10 years, but you're considering going back to school and changing careers and becoming a lawyer or a teacher. So you might say, "I'm not sure if I want to be a graphic designer anymore. I'm at a crossroads," because that decision will impact your life. To rain cats and dogs, this is when it rains heavily. So let's say your friend in a different city asks you, "Oh, did it rain last night?" And it did. It rained heavily. You can say, "Yeah, it rained cats and dogs." To be on top of the world. This is when you're really, really happy. So let's say you got a new promotion. You can say, "I'm on top of the world." To give someone the cold shoulder. This is when you ignore someone, and you ignore someone on purpose, usually because you're mad at them, annoyed with them, they did something wrong or something to irritate you. So let's say your husband or your wife is ignoring you. You might say, "Why are you giving me the cold shoulder?" It's another way of asking, "Why are you mad at me? What did I do wrong? Why are you giving me the cold shoulder?" To sit on the fence. This is when you delay making a decision, usually because that decision is difficult and you don't want to make it. For example, I asked my boss for a promotion, but he's sitting on the fence. So he won't answer me. He won't say yes, he won't say no. He keeps just saying, "Oh, I need to think about it. I'll get back to you." He's sitting on the fence. To hit the nail on the head. This is when you accurately explain a problem or a situation. For example, you hit the nail on the head when you said we needed to reduce our costs. So you explain the situation accurately. To be as fit as a fiddle. This simply means you feel great. You have good health. You're in good shape. So maybe you could say, "Since I changed my diet and I'm eating more fruits and vegetables, I feel as fit as a fiddle." This is a great one. To get something out of your system. This is when you do something or you try something simply so you can move on. For example, let's say you've been talking about going skydiving for years and years. You research it, you look at different websites, you talk to people about it, but you've never actually done it. Someone might say, "Just go skydiving so you can get it out of your system. So once you do it, you can stop researching it, stop looking it up, and just move on already." I like this one. Speak of the devil. speak of the devil. This sounds negative because of devil, but it's not at all. This is used when you're talking about someone and they appear exactly as you're talking about them. This has happened, right? Let's say you're talking to a friend about your mutual friend, Bob, and you're talking about Bob. Oh, is Bob going to come to the party? Oh, I'm not sure. I haven't talked to Bob. And then your phone rings, and guess what? It's Bob. And then you can say, speak of the devil. To give someone the benefit of the doubt, this is when you trust someone when they tell you something. So if a coworker's late and they call you and they say, I'm stuck in traffic, let's give him the benefit of the doubt. Let's trust that he's actually stuck in traffic. No pain, no gain. This is a classic one. This is used to say that if you want results, real results, you have to be willing to work hard and get uncomfortable. So I might say, if you want to improve your public speaking skills, no pain, no gain. You have to be willing to get uncomfortable. Hang in there. This is a great one. It simply means don't give up. I know learning a language is hard, but hang in there. A penny for your thoughts. This is used to ask someone what they're thinking. So let's say your friend is just staring out the window and you probably are wondering, what are they thinking about? You can turn to your friend and say, a penny for your thoughts. It's not rocket science. Rocket science is complicated, right? But if we say it's not rocket science, this means it's not complicated. So I could say becoming a confident English speaker is not rocket science. It's not complicated. You just have to practice speaking. To let someone off the hook. This is a great one because it means that you don't punish someone for a mistake or a wrongdoing. So your boss could say, I know you came in late today, but I'm going to let you off the hook. I'm not going to punish you. To make a long story short, this is when you take a long and usually complicated story and you make it very simple by sharing it briefly. So you could say, long story short, we missed our flight. So there's a long story about why you missed your flight, but you don't explain those details. You just say, long story short, we missed our flight. Easy does it. Easy does it. This is a way of saying slow down. So if your friend is at the gym and they're trying to do too many exercises with too much weight, you might say, easy does it, slow down. To go back to the drawing board. This is when you need to start over and create a new plan or strategy because the first one failed. So let's say you were trying to solve a computer problem, you came up with a strategy, it didn't work, and then you can say to your team, well, let's go back to the drawing board and try again. Once in a blue moon. This is an event that happens infrequently. For example, I only see Kara once in a blue moon, not very often. At the drop of a hat. This is a great one because it means without hesitation or instantly. For example, call me if you need anything and I'll be there at the drop of a hat. It means I'll come instantly if you need anything. So it's a really nice, reassuring thing to say to someone. To add insult to injury. This is when you take a bad situation and it becomes even worse. So let's say you're going out on a first date and your date showed up late. That's already a bad situation. But then to add insult to injury, your date forgot his wallet and you had to pay for both of you. To hit the sack. This means to go to bed. For example, I'm really tired. I'm going to hit the sack. The ball's in your court. This is used when you need to make the next decision or the next step. So I might say, we offered her a great promotion, so now the ball's in her court. So it's up to her to decide if she's going to accept the promotion or look for another job or do something else. To be or to go, barking up the wrong tree. This is when you look in the wrong place or you accuse the wrong person. For example, if you think I lost your ring, you're barking up the wrong tree. You're accusing the wrong person. To get or to have your ducks in a row. This is when you're well prepared or well organized for something specific. So you might say, the conference was supposed to start 10 minutes ago. They should have gotten their ducks in a row. They should have been organized or prepared. To get or have the best of both worlds. This is when you enjoy the advantages of two very different things at the same time. She works in the city, but she lives in the country. She gets the best of both worlds. The lion's share. This is the largest part or most of something. So you might complain, I did the lion's share of work on this project. To be on the ball. This is when you're performing really well. Wow, you completed all those reports already? You're on the ball. To pull someone's leg. This is when you're joking with someone. So we usually use this to reassure someone you're only joking. Don't get upset, I'm just pulling your leg. To pull yourself together. This is when you need to calm down. You regain your composure after being really upset or agitated, angry, annoyed, and then you calm down. So I might say, pull yourself together. It was a false alarm. So the alarm made you really agitated, and I'm telling you to calm down. So far, so good. This is how you reply when you want to let someone know that everything is okay until now. How's the project going? So far, so good. To be the last straw. This is when you have no patience left for someone's errors or mistakes. So I might say, this is her 5th time being late this month. That's the last straw. No more patience for her mistakes. Time flies when you're having fun. This is used to say that you don't notice how long something takes because it's enjoyable. So you might look at your watch and say, oh wow, it's 1 a.m. already? And then someone could reply and say, yeah, time flies when you're having fun. To be bent out of shape. This is used to say you're upset, you're angry. For example, Janice is bent out of shape because she has to work late tonight. To make matters worse. Matters in this sense means problems, to make problems worse. So I might say, I have to work tonight, and to make matters worse, to make that situation even worse, I have an early appointment tomorrow. Don't judge a book by its cover. You've probably heard this one. It means that you shouldn't judge someone or something on appearance. For example, let's say I'm hiring people and I say, I'm not going to hire him. Look at his hair. And then my colleague would say, well, don't judge a book by its cover. Look at his resume. To fall between two stools. This is when something fails to achieve two separate objectives. So let's say you plan to watch a romantic comedy movie. That movie is supposed to be romantic and funny at the same time. A romantic comedy, two objectives. So you could say that movie fell between two stools. It wasn't romantic and it wasn't funny. To cost an arm and a leg. This is when something is exceptionally expensive. Now, airline tickets are usually expensive, but exceptionally expensive, even more expensive than usual. I might say my flight cost an arm and a leg. To cross a bridge when you come to it. This is used to remind someone that you only need to deal with the situation when it happens. So your friend might be concerned, what if I forget all my words during my IELTS speaking exam? And then you tell that friend, cross that bridge when you come to it. Worry about that problem when it happens. To cry over spilt milk. This is used when someone complains about a problem or a loss from the past. So let's say I had a party weeks ago and now I'm complaining, I can't believe John didn't come to my party. Well, my friend can say, don't cry over spilt milk. It was 3 weeks ago. Why are you still talking about it? Curiosity killed the cat. This is used to say that being inquisitive or asking a lot of questions can lead to an unpleasant situation. So let's say your husband or wife is planning you a surprise birthday party and you try to ask a lot of questions. What are we doing? Where are we going? Who's coming? Then your husband or wife can say, curiosity killed the cat, just to remind you, don't ask so many questions. To miss the boat. This is when you lose an opportunity because you were too slow to take action. For example, the application deadline was last week. I missed the boat. To be on fire. This is to perform really well. Wow, your presentation was amazing. You were on fire. To spill the beans. This is when you reveal a secret when you shouldn't have revealed a secret. So let's say you're planning a surprise party for someone and then you tell everyone, don't spill the beans. Don't reveal the secret. And finally, to be under the weather. This is when you feel unwell, when you feel sick. Oh, I'm a little under the weather today. You are doing a great job. Think of everything you've learned so far. Now let's focus on how you can share your opinion and do that very professionally and naturally. You're going to learn over 50 opinion words right now. Now let's get started with first sharing your personal opinion. Let's say you're in a work meeting and you have an idea you want to share with everyone. We should hire a marketing expert to build our website. You can absolutely say that, but you can sound more professional, more advanced if you use an opinion word. Now, there are many different phrases you can use to share your personal opinion. I recommend starting with 2 to 3 that you like the most, and then you can add more once you get comfortable with them so you have variety and you're not always using the same one. Here's the list. In my opinion, as far as I'm concerned, from my perspective, from my point of view, personally, I think that. In my view, I'd say that. I believe that. I strongly, firmly believe that. I'm convinced that. There's no doubt in my mind that. I feel that. In my mind, it seems to me that. So let's take our idea again. We should hire a marketing expert to build our website. As far as I'm concerned, we should hire a marketing expert. In my opinion, in my mind, personally, I think that we should hire a marketing expert. So you can use any one of these, and remember, variety is key. You don't always want to say, in my opinion. You can absolutely use that, but you want to have variety. Now let's talk about agreeing with an opinion. So you're in a meeting and a colleague says, we should postpone the conference. Or your colleague used an opinion word and said, I firmly believe that we should postpone the conference. Now let's say that you agree with your colleague. What can you say? Well, again, here's a big list. Start with 1 to 2 and add them as you get comfortable. I agree. I agree with you. I think so too. That's a good point. You're right. Definitely, absolutely. I second that. I couldn't have said it better myself. I couldn't agree more. We're on the same page. You hit the nail on the head. So your colleague says, from my perspective, we should postpone the conference. And you say, I couldn't agree more. We should postpone the conference. You're right. We should postpone the conference. Absolutely, we should postpone the conference. I agree with you. Now let's say your colleague shared an opinion that started with, I don't think. I don't think we should postpone the conference. Personally, I don't think we should postpone the conference. We have one very specific phrase that you can use when you want to agree with a negative opinion. Do you know what that is? In my mind, I don't think we should postpone the conference. Neither do I. Neither do I. You only use this when you're agreeing with I don't think. Neither do I. Now let's talk about disagreeing with an opinion. So you're in a meeting and your colleague says, in my mind, we should look for a new supplier. Now you don't agree. What can you say? You can say, I disagree with you. I'm afraid I disagree. On the contrary, I understand where you're coming from, but I respect your opinion, but that's a good point. However, I see your point, but I have a different perspective. I think, can I share my opinion? That's one way of looking at it, but have you considered the fact that? Now, the first one I shared, I disagree with you, is probably the least commonly used because it sounds argumentative. And we generally want to say this softly to someone. So it's way more common to say, I'm afraid. I'm afraid I disagree with you. It makes it a lot softer. Or you could acknowledge that I respect your opinion, but I don't think that's a good idea. I respect your opinion, but I think we should keep our supplier. My personal favorite in this category is I understand where you're coming from, but, and then you share your opinion or whatever information you like. I understand where you're coming from. This is another way of saying I respect your opinion. I understand where you're coming from, but right now isn't the best time to change our suppliers because it's our busiest time of year. We should wait until Q4. And remember, you can add your personal opinion words as well. From my perspective, in my mind, from my point of view, we should wait until Q4. So you can absolutely combine these different opinion words together. Now let's talk about sharing a general opinion. So something that most people would agree with. Here's a statement. Repetition is key when you're learning any new skill. Now, I personally believe this, but it's not my opinion per se. This is just a commonly held opinion by most people, by many different people. So here are some general opinion words you can use. It's said that, it's believed that, I've heard that, it's considered that, it's generally accepted that, most agree that, some say that, it goes without saying that, researchers, experts suggest that. So I could say it's generally accepted that repetition is key when you're learning any new skill. And personally, I agree. And personally, I couldn't have said it better myself. So you absolutely can share a general opinion, but then agree with that general opinion using one of the phrases you've already learned. Or maybe you want to disagree with this statement. Well, then of course you can use one of the phrases to disagree. On the contrary, repetition isn't that important. I'm afraid I disagree. Repetition isn't that important. In my mind, and then you can share your opinion. And finally, let's talk about how to ask someone for their opinion. So let's say I shared a general opinion. Most agree that repetition is key when learning a new skill. And I want to ask for your opinion on this specific topic. I can say, do you agree? What's your opinion? What do you think? What are your thoughts? What's your view? How do you see the situation? What's your take on it? What about you? How about you? Has that been your experience? What has your experience been? Are we on the same page? Is that something you would support too? So if you're talking to someone who's currently learning a new skill, it could be really interesting to ask them, has that been your experience? What are your thoughts on that? Do you agree? I've saved the best for last because one of the easiest ways that you can sound more advanced, more professional, more fluent is by using transition words. They are the secret to really elevating your English. So now you're going to learn 50 of the most common transition words. So what exactly are transition words? Well, transition words are individual words or groups of words, phrases, that you can use to organize your ideas and to show connection between your ideas. They're commonly used in academic or formal writing, but you shouldn't limit their use to just that because you can absolutely use them in your spoken English, and you should use them in your spoken English to sound very advanced and professional. And if you watch to the end of this video, I'm going to share how you can use transition words to expand your ideas and to take a really simple idea and be able to talk on that idea for longer using transition words. So stay right to the end. So let's get started. You're going to learn over 50 transition words in this lesson. Don't feel overwhelmed. Just add them to your vocabulary as you go. Our first group of transition words are used to show cause and effect, causation. So here I have two separate ideas. I spilled my coffee, I changed my shirt. Now this is where we can use a transition word to combine these ideas together and to show the relationship between them. I spilled my coffee, as a result, I changed my shirt. Cause and effect. Here are the transition words in this category, and they're listed from most formal to least formal. So you can take a screenshot of this. Consequently, hence, accordingly, thus, for that reason, as a result, therefore, and so, since, because, due to. Now the example I gave you, I spilled my coffee, as a result, I changed my shirt. This is a casual statement. It might sound a little odd, perhaps out of place, to use a very formal transition word such as consequently in such a common everyday speech. I spilled my coffee, consequently, I changed my shirt. You could absolutely say it, it's grammatically correct, but the choice of transition word is just a little too formal. So do not think that formal is the best, and you absolutely should use formal. You should use formal when your ideas are more formal. They're more academic, they're more professional in a business context. Let's look at a business context. The project is over budget. We have to cut costs. So again, we'll show our cause and effect. We'll use a transition word to combine these ideas. And because it's a more formal context, I can use a more formal transition word. The project is over budget, hence, consequently, thus, we have to cut costs. Our next group of transition words is chronology. This is how events are related based on when they occur. So think of time. Here are 3 events. I went to the store, I worked out, I made dinner. Now, of course, we can add first, second, third, first, next, finally. That's chronology. And it instantly sounds more organized and more advanced when you add the transition words. So let's review the transition words in this category. First, firstly, to start, to begin, at the beginning, at the start. Second, secondly, after, afterwards, next, then, subsequently, later. Third, thirdly, after, afterwards, next, then, subsequently, later, finally, lastly, last but not least. Now notice that for the second and third events, many of the transition words are the same. You can use after, after for the second and third event. Or you can use next, next for the second and third and fourth and fifth event. But you might want to avoid that so you don't sound repetitive using the same transition word again and again. So you can use next, then, subsequently, finally. So you can use the different transition words just to show off your advanced vocabulary. Our next category of transition words is to show contrast when you have 2 opposing ideas. Let me give you 2 ideas. I love ice cream. I'm lactose intolerant. So can you see how these 2 ideas are in opposition? I love ice cream is great. It's a really positive thing. But I'm lactose intolerant. That's negative, and it also means that I can't eat ice cream. So those ideas are in opposition. So we can use our contrasting transition words. However, although, though, but. I love ice cream, but I'm lactose intolerant. Same thing, the transition words are listed from most formal to least formal. Again, you could say, I love ice cream, however, I'm lactose intolerant. But again, these ideas are quite simple, so you probably want a more simple transition word. Our next category of transition words is addition of similar ideas. I love ice cream, I love cake. It's adding a similar idea because they're both in the same category, which is desserts or sweets. The most common transition words from most formal to least formal in this category are furthermore, moreover, further, additionally, in addition, also, and. I love ice cream and I love cake. Obviously, you know that one. So why not try to advance your vocabulary by using in addition? I love ice cream. In addition, I love cake. Now let's talk about generality. This is when things are true most of the time. The most common transition words in this category are in general, generally, generally speaking, by and large, for the most part, most of the time, more often than not, usually, typically, mostly. So let's take an example. Our meetings are very productive. Now, of course, I'm sure there's 1 or 2 meetings that aren't very productive, but most of the time, in general, generally speaking, our meetings are very productive. Now let's look at the category of examples. There are really only 3 main transition words. For example, as an example, for instance. This software has really helped us. Now it can make your point a lot stronger or help you expand on your idea by adding an example. This software has really helped us. For example, as an example, for instance, it reduced our error rate by 40%. Our next category is emphasis. This category is used to make a point stronger by adding more supporting information. Let's take a simple example. I love pie. Now, what if I wanted to make this point stronger? I could say, it's my favorite dessert. I love pie. In fact, it's my favorite dessert. I love pie. As a matter of fact, it's my favorite dessert. These are the only two transition words that are commonly used to add emphasis. And finally, conclusion transition words. Notice I just used a transition word. And finally, that is a conclusion transition word. Now, of course, in this category, we use these transition words when we want to end what we're saying, end our speech, end our presentation. Here are the most common transition words listed from most formal to least formal. In conclusion, to conclude, to summarize, in sum, all things considered, finally, overall, ultimately, in the end, to wrap up, to sum up, all in all. So let's say I'm ending my presentation at work and I want my colleagues to remember one very important fact. And that fact is, if we want to remain competitive, we have to invest in automation. Now, to let my colleagues know that this is the last point I'm going to make, my final point, I'm going to add a conclusion transition word. Ultimately, if we want to remain competitive, we have to invest in automation. So now you have 50 plus transition words to help you communicate your ideas in a very professional and organized way. Before you go, let me share a bonus tip with you. You can use transition words to help you expand on your ideas. So let's take one idea. In general, our meetings are very productive. Now, I can pick any category of transition word to expand on this idea. I could add a contrast. However, they usually run over time. So this is an opposing idea. Now, let me give an example of my last point to add emphasis and to expand even more. For example, today our meeting was scheduled to end at 11 and it went until 11:17. So let's expand on this even more. What was the effect of the meeting running over by 17 minutes? As a result, I was late for a meeting with a client. Were there any other effects? If there were, I could use an addition of a similar idea transition word. Additionally, I had to work through lunch to catch up. So your bags are packed and you're ready to visit North America. Let's talk about all the phrases that you need, starting with greetings. Now, as a tourist, you're going to be using these greetings when you go to stores, restaurants, or interact with service providers, like when you rent a car or book a tour. You can simply say hello, because for more impersonal interactions, when you don't know the person socially, we just say hello. That's the standard greeting in these situations. You could also say hi there. So add there. Hi there. Hi there. When you go into a restaurant, a store, hi there. Of course, you wouldn't wave. I'm just doing that. I guess you could.
Hi there.
Hello?
Now, time specific, you could say good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. Don't say good night, because that's what we use before you go to sleep. So after 4 to 6 p.m., you can say good evening. Now, only for morning, native speakers, we drop the good and we just say morning, morning, but we don't say afternoon. You always say good afternoon, good evening, but you can simply say morning, morning. Now, after your greeting, you can state your reason for your visit. So if you're at a restaurant, you can say, hi there, we have a reservation under Forrest. Usually the reservations are made under your last name for 7 p.m. You could include the time, but you don't need to because the reservation will have the time. Or you could approach a booth and say, good morning, could you please tell me when the next ferry to Staten Island comes? Notice how I use could you please? That's to sound more polite. Now don't worry about taking notes because I summarize everything in a free lesson PDF. You can look in the description for the link. How about this one? Excuse me, do you carry sunscreen? Do you carry? You're asking the store if they have. Do you carry sunscreen? Now notice, excuse me. This isn't necessarily a greeting, but it's what we use to get someone's attention. So if the store person is stocking a shelf, you can say, excuse me, and then they will stop what they're doing and look at you. So it's used to get attention. Now, technically, you can say, pardon me, do you carry sunscreen? But pardon me isn't very common in North America in this context. In North America, we use pardon me if we don't understand something. So if someone's talking to me and maybe there's a lot of background noise, I might say, pardon me, to ask them to repeat themselves, but we don't really use it to get someone's attention, so just use excuse me to get someone's attention. Now let's review all the phrases you need if you don't understand someone or if you don't hear them because there's a lot of background noise or maybe they just spoke very quietly. Like I said, pardon me.
Pardon me.
Now you can also say excuse me, but it's more in a questioning tone. Excuse me? Sorry, I didn't catch that. Now you can always say, sorry, English isn't my first language. So you're giving them the information they need to know so they can adjust. Because if you tell a native speaker, oh, sorry, English isn't my first language, they'll naturally just try to speak slower or louder or in a different way to help you understand. And don't be afraid to say, can you repeat that slower, please? The person will not be offended or upset if you say that, so don't be afraid to use it. Or you can say, sorry, I'm not sure what means. That means, or if you know the specific word, you can say, I'm not sure what a transfer means. Can you explain it a different way? Can you give me more information? Can you help me understand? Or simply you can say, sorry, I don't understand. English isn't my first language. And they will naturally know they need to speak slower, louder, or explain it a different way.
Can you repeat that, please?
I'm sorry, I didn't catch that.
As a tourist, you're going to be spending money at stores. So let's talk about the phrases you need. When you go into a store or when you take all of your items to checkout when you're ready to pay, you can just say, hi there, or any of the other greetings. Now, previously, the stores would ask you cash or credit, but this isn't common in North America today. It's assumed you're going to pay with a credit card. So they generally don't ask you about the payment method. They will probably just point at the machine and then you can tap your card.
Cash or credit?
Now there are some street vendors. A street vendor would be a small shop or something that isn't a physical store. It is possible that they only accept cash, but this is becoming less and less common. Basically, everywhere you go in North America, you can pay with your card, even the smallest street vendors, because they have a little device they put on their phones and then their phone turns into a payment processor and you just tap your card on the phone. So even at very small vendors, you can likely pay with your card, but of course bring a little cash with you. You can ask, how much is this for one item? How much are these for two or more items? Now, after you pay, they might ask you, do you need a bag? Now, they might say, need a bag, or simply bag with a rising intonation to show it's a question. Plastic bags are not used at most stores in North America. They are banned for environmental reasons. So if you need a bag, most likely you have to pay for that bag. Instead of plastic, stores use paper bags, and they're probably about 15 cents per bag. Or you can get a reusable bag, depending on the quality, $1 to $3. A lot of smaller stores, convenience stores, markets, they still use plastic bags, but the bigger stores generally don't. But you can always ask them, can you give me a bag, please? Or I need to buy a bag. Now, sometimes I hear students say, please, I need to buy a bag. And they put please at the beginning of a statement, but that is not common in North America and it sounds a little awkward. So put please at the end. I need to buy a bag, please. Please commonly comes at the beginning when it's the imperative. So you're giving an instruction. Please put the receipt in the bag. Put the receipt in the bag is the instruction, and you can add please at the beginning to sound more polite. You could also add it at the end. After you pay, they might say, do you want a receipt? Again, to try to be more environmental and save paper, they don't automatically print receipts. They might just say, need a receipt, want a receipt, or receipt. You can say, no, that's okay, no thanks, yes please. Now, right before you pay, they might say something really long that you don't understand. They may be asking you for a donation, which is very common. Do you want to donate $1 to the Children's Hospital? They might ask you if you have a points or rewards membership with that store. Or they might ask you if you want to sign up for something like a Walmart Mastercard or a points card or a membership. If you don't understand, just say no thanks. No thanks, because they're probably just trying to give you something additional. Now, if you go into a clothing store or a larger store, they will greet you and they'll ask you if you're looking for something specific. You can say, I'm just looking. I'm just browsing, but in North America, looking is more common. I'm just looking, thanks.
No thanks, I'm just browsing.
Oh, I'm just looking, thanks.
Or if you are looking for something specific, you can say, I'm looking for a small backpack. Where can I find men's socks? Do you carry sunglasses? If you're buying clothing, you can ask, where can I try this on? Where are the fitting rooms, the changing rooms, which is where you try things on. You can also ask them, what's your return policy, to know if the item is returnable or exchangeable. Now let's talk about dining out at restaurants. When you go to a restaurant, you can use your greeting, hello, hi there, good afternoon, table for two, please. Or you can state, we have a reservation under, and then your name, generally just your last name, under Forrest. Or maybe you want to make a reservation. Can we make a reservation? And they'll ask you when or what day, how many people, and what time.
Table for two, please.
Now, if you're staying at the restaurant, you can ask them, do you have any tables outside? Do you have any tables on the patio? So they mean the same thing. The patio or outside is an area that is outside. So you have inside or outside. Outside is on the patio. And if you're inside and you see this really nice table by the window, you can say, can we sit by the window, please? Are there any booths available? So maybe they're putting you at a table with chairs, but you want to sit in a booth. Just ask them, are there any booths available? If you have any allergies, you can tell your server, I'm allergic to shellfish. Or maybe you see an item, a stir fry with chicken, and you want to know, can you make that vegetarian? Can you make that vegan? Can you make that gluten-free? To order, just say, I'll have the stir fry with shrimp, please. Alternatively, I'd like the stir fry with shrimp, please, but I'll have is way more common. Now you may want to modify your order. I'll have the stir fry with shrimp, please, but no onions. Hold the onions without onions. They all mean the same thing. Can you add pickles? So if you want something additional, can you add pickles? Can you make it extra spicy? This is something my husband asks every time. Can you make it extra spicy? Can you put the sauce on the side? So maybe if they put a sauce over top, can you put it on the side?
Sauce on the side again, please.
Just know that modifying your orders is extremely common and accepted in North America. So don't be shy. If you want something specific, just ask, they will do it for you. And don't forget to ask for water, because as a tourist, you need to drink a lot of water. Can you bring us some water, please? They might ask you sparkling or still, bottled. Just say tap water. Tap water is fine. Sometimes the restaurants try to sound more fancy and say house water, but it's the water that comes out of the tap, which is drinkable in all of North America. So if you don't want to pay for water, just say tap water is fine. And know that water is free everywhere you go in North America. You can go into any place and ask for water for free. You might ask them, where are the bathrooms or restrooms? Either word choice is fine. Where are the bathrooms? Where are the restrooms? Just don't say where are the toilets, because we don't use that word for restaurants. Now, if you had a big meal and you didn't finish it all, you can say, can I have a to-go box, please? And they'll bring you a box and you put your leftovers and then you take it with you. Can I have a to-go box, please? Or you can say, can you wrap this up? So they will take your food, put it in a to-go box and bring it back to you. Can you wrap this up? Can you pack this up? They mean the same thing. If they try to offer you dessert or coffee and you don't want it, say just the check, please. You can say check or bill. Just the check, please. Just the bill, please. Can you bring me the check or bill, please? Or you can simply ask, where do I pay?
Just the check, please.
Where do I pay? It's $25, right?
In North America, tips, gratuity, are rarely added to the bill automatically. So it's your choice to leave it when you pay. There'll be an option on the machine. It's not required, but it is highly expected. And a 10 to 20% tip, depending on the formality of the restaurant and the level of service, is expected. But again, it isn't required. Now, at any restaurant, cafe, or store, you can ask them, do you have Wi-Fi? Or is there Wi-Fi here? And if you know there's Wi-Fi because there's a sign, you can ask them, what's the Wi-Fi password? Now, sometimes the Wi-Fi passwords are just random letters or numbers, and maybe you didn't hear it, you couldn't understand it. You can just give them your phone. Can you put it in for me, please? Can you write it down, please? Can you repeat that slowly, please? Now let's talk about getting around, so how you move from one location to another. You don't really need to know how to ask for directions anymore because your phone has GPS and will tell you exactly where to go. But let me share some common phrases with you. Excuse me, do you know how to get to the Empire State Building? Excuse me, which way is Central Park? Excuse me, does this train go to Central Park? Excuse me, which train will take me to Central Park? And notice I used excuse me for all of them because that is the most common standard in North America to get someone's attention. You could also say, excuse me, do you mind taking our photo? Because that is the one thing that people still ask other people for. Not directions anymore, but excuse me, do you mind? Do you mind taking, with that ing, do you mind taking our photo? Excuse me, could you please take our picture? So you can say photo or picture interchangeably. And as a final tip, before you pack your bags and head to North America, just remember that North America is incredibly diverse, and we interact with non-native English speakers every single day. Every time we leave the house, we go to stores, restaurants, our work environments, our social environments, we interact with non-native English speakers. North Americans in general are friendly, open, and accepting. So don't feel any bit of nervousness or shyness because you have an accent or make grammar mistakes. It will not impact your experience as a tourist. But of course, you do need to be able to communicate in a way that a native speaker understands. And all of these phrases will help you do just that. You might be preparing for a language exam like the IELTS. So now let me share 30 advanced phrases that you can use in your IELTS or in any formal situation. Of course, on the IELTS, they're going to ask you, where do you live? You can say, I was born and raised in Winnipeg. That's where I was born and raised. Did you know that? I was born and raised. To be born and raised in. Now here your verb is to be, so of course you need to conjugate it in the past simple because it's a completed past action. I was born and raised in, and then you can state your city or your country. Now don't worry about taking notes because I summarize everything in a free lesson PDF. You can look in the description for the link. You can add on to this to make it sound more complex, to make you sound more advanced. I was born and raised in Winnipeg, but now I live in Ottawa. Go even further and say, I've lived here for over 10 years. Now notice I used the present perfect. You can also use the present perfect continuous only for the verbs live, work, and study. And this is for an action that started in the past and continues until now. So in the present perfect continuous, I've been living here for over 10 years. You can use for plus the specific number of years. You can even say 4 years, several years, many years, a number of years. All of those are possibilities. Now let's move on to tell me about your work. You can say, I'm an engineer. I know this is a very simple sentence, but most students get it wrong because they forget the article. You must use an article before your job title. Most likely you're going to use a or an, but it is possible to use the article the. This is when there is only one position in the organization and you have that one position. For example, I'm the executive director. So there's only one executive director, and that's me. Now, if we use the, it's more common to explain what the organization is or what the company is. But if you include just your job title with a or an, you can, but you don't need to. But if you use the, make sure you state your organization. Now add to this and add a general statement about your specific job. Being an engineer is rewarding. Notice here, being starts the sentence because it's a gerund statement. Gerund statements will absolutely make you sound more advanced. You could say, I love using my analytical skills to solve complex problems. Love is a verb of preference, so you need the verb of preference plus a gerund. Love using. You could say, I enjoy collaborating with my team. Enjoy is a verb of preference, so you need the gerund. I enjoy collaborating with my team and brainstorming unique solutions to complex problems. So sure, you could say brainstorming solutions to problems, but adding adjectives makes you sound more advanced. You just mentioned something positive about your work. Why not make a contrasting statement and start with however? This is a transition word that we use to make a contrast, and using transition words will make you sound so advanced. However, being an engineer also has its challenges. So before we had positives about being an engineer, however, and now a negative about being an engineer, a contrast. So now you can share one of those challenges, specifically another transition word to make you sound advanced. Specifically, I work around the clock to meet tight deadlines. To work around the clock is an expression, and using expressions really shows you understand the language more at an advanced native level. And of course, to work around the clock, you can just imagine you work continuously, you work non-stop. Now let's talk about hobbies. You can begin with a gerund statement that expresses your opinion on hobbies. In my opinion, having hobbies is integral to living a fulfilling life. So our gerund statement is having hobbies is integral to, but then I just added on to that by expressing my opinion. So let's review some opinion words. Of course, in my opinion, in my view, from my perspective. Notice here, from my perspective. Personally, I think that. Have at least 4 different opinion words. You can use these 4 in your vocabulary when you go for your IELTS. Now let's get back to hobbies. You made your general statement, your gerund statement beginning with an opinion word. Now you can state your specific hobby. I'm an avid hiker. Or maybe I'm an avid cyclist, guitar player, tennis player, whatever your hobby is. So here the structure is to be an avid, and then you need a noun. And this means you have a strong interest, passion, or enthusiasm for that activity. Now you can make a gerund statement about why you enjoy this activity. Hiking gives me the opportunity to disconnect from my devices and enjoy the beauty of nature. Now notice that the gerund statement started with the verb hiking. You can also start a gerund statement with the noun. For example, guitar. Guitar gives me the opportunity to. You could say playing guitar, so you're using the verb form or the noun form with guitar. Both are correct. Now let's say you don't have any hobbies. Don't worry, you can still answer this question in a very advanced way. You can say, until now, my focus has been on my career. However, I'm considering taking up, and then an activity, taking up drawing. So notice we have our present perfect. My focus has been, because the action started in the past and continues until now. Take up is the phrasal verb we use specifically with hobbies and activities to mean start. And notice consider plus gerund. I'm considering, that's in the present continuous. I'm considering taking up. Take is in the gerund because consider plus gerund. You could also say, however, I'd love to take up drawing. The expression here is I would love, and then infinitive. Perhaps it's simpler to remember and it still sounds advanced, so feel free to use this alternative. Now you can still add on a gerund statement about drawing, but use the future simple because you're not doing the activity right now. Drawing will give me the opportunity to disconnect. You could say, I'm confident that, or I'm hopeful that drawing will give me the opportunity to disconnect. You will sound very advanced. Now let's move on to tell me about your family. You can say, I'm from a close-knit family. Close-knit. Notice that pronunciation, close-knit. This is an adjective that describes the family. Now, this is the same as saying, my family and I are very close. My family and I. This is the subject we. My family and I are very close. You can say, everyone in my family gets along, because everyone is conjugated as a singular. Everyone gets along really well, or use extremely well to sound more advanced. Here's a great expression. Everyone says, I take after my mom in looks, and I take after my dad in personality. When you take after someone, it means that you resemble them physically. So if you have a photo of you and your mom and people say, oh, I see the similarities. You take after your mom because your mom came first, and maybe your mom takes after your grandmother, etc. But for personality, you can use this as well. So maybe your dad is very funny and you are very funny. So you take after your dad in personality. A great phrasal verb to use on the IELTS to sound very advanced. Now let's move on to talking about travel. You can say, I'd love, I would love, I'd love the opportunity to see Egypt, to travel to. Notice, travel to Egypt, but see Egypt, visit Egypt. So know when certain verbs require additional prepositions. Travel to a location, visit a location. If I could travel anywhere, I'd choose Egypt. This is our second conditional because it's hypothetical. And notice we have modal plus base verb. Don't use the infinitive, modal plus base verb. Of course, you can use a gerund statement. Visiting Egypt is at the top of my list. Imagine you have a list of places you want to visit and Egypt is at the top. You can make this more advanced by using the present perfect. Traveling to Egypt has been at the top of my list for as long as I can remember. An action that started in the past and continues until now. Now, why not use an opinion word? From my perspective, the pyramids are one of our world's greatest treasures. So you're sharing an opinion that reinforces why you want to visit Egypt. You can go on and say, and I'd revel in the opportunity to see them with my own eyes. The expression is to revel in the opportunity and then your infinitive, to see them. This is a very advanced way of saying, I would thoroughly enjoy seeing the pyramids. Now, as a bonus, let me share some phrases that you can use when you want to clarify your answer. So you're answering and you realize that the words aren't coming out very well. You can say, what I'm trying to say is, and then you can change your thought. You can express your thought a different way. What I mean is, what I'm getting at is, what I'm trying to get at is, to put it another way, in other words, and then you communicate your idea. I suggest memorizing 4 of these because they will be very helpful when you're taking your IELTS. Are you enjoying this lesson? If you are, then I want to tell you about the Finally Fluent Academy. This is my premium training program where we study native English speakers from TV, the movies, YouTube, and the news so you can improve your listening skills of fast English, expand your vocabulary with natural expressions, and learn advanced grammar easily. Plus, you'll have me as your personal coach. You can look in the description for the link to learn more, or you can go to my website and click on Finally Fluent Academy. Now let's continue with our lesson. Are you ready to add 50 plus advanced expressions to your vocabulary that you can use when you're attending a job interview in English? Let's get started with the first question that you're going to be asked. Tell me about yourself. When you're asked this question, you absolutely must use the expression, I have more than, over, or almost 10 years of experience. And then you can add as a and your job title. As a project manager, as an accountant. Don't forget that article. It's very important that it's there before your job title. Now, you can also talk about your experience in a particular field. I have almost 20 years of experience in the project management industry. I have more than 15 years of experience in the IT sector. So you can use field, industry, or sector. Now, notice you have more than or over. That's when the number is greater than. And then you have almost. That's when the number is less than. So if you actually have 13 or 14 years of experience, well, it sounds better to use a round number like 15. So you can say almost 15 years of experience if you have 13 or 14. Now, you can add to this and tell us more about your responsibilities in that role. So you can say, in this role, which is your role as a financial analyst, in this role, you could also say in that role, it doesn't matter, in that role, I was responsible for. Or you can say, I am responsible for, was if you're viewing the role as complete, and I am responsible for if you're currently doing that role. I was responsible for. Now, after this, we need a gerund verb. So you can use many different verbs to talk about your experience. These are the most common verbs you can use. In this role, I was responsible for managing, overseeing, leading, coordinating, creating, developing, reviewing, improving, streamlining, and analyzing. Of course, you can use other verbs, but these are the most common. Now, streamlining, this means improving the efficiency or effectiveness. So as a financial analyst, you could say, I have over 20 years of experience as a financial analyst in the IT industry. In this role, I'm responsible for overseeing a team of 15 people, and I'm responsible for streamlining our operations. Now, in a job interview, you absolutely want to use more academic or formal adjectives. You don't want to say, I have a lot of experience. That doesn't sound very strong or convincing. It sounds a lot more impressive if you say, I have extensive experience. I have significant experience. So those are two must-know adjectives that you should use in job interviews. Extensive and significant, which simply is a more formal way of saying a lot of. I have significant experience. And again, after this, you need a gerund verb. You can use any of the verbs I've already shared, and of course, you'll have specific verbs for your industry and your specific job title. I have extensive experience creating international marketing campaigns for a variety of industries. Now, after this expression, I have significant, extensive experience, you could also use a noun. I have significant project management experience. I have significant financial analysis experience. So you don't have to use a gerund verb, you could also use a noun. If you're asked about your education or your credentials, you can simply say, I have a Bachelor of. I have a Bachelor of Science, a Bachelor of Arts, a Bachelor of Engineering, whatever that may be. Now, you can end it there, but you may also choose to identify the school and the year you graduated. Those aren't requirements, but if you went to a prestigious or well-known school, or you recently graduated, those might be useful details to include. I have a Bachelor of Science from Cornell. I graduated in 2020. You could also use the verbs received or obtained, which are more formal than have. However, it's extremely common to use the verb have. I have a bachelor, I have a master, but you can absolutely use received or obtained to use the more formal version. I received my Master of Education from Cornell in 2020. I obtained my Master of Engineering from MIT in 2019. If your credential is a certification, you can use the verbs I received, I completed, or I obtained. I completed my PMP in 2019. Now notice here I use an acronym, PMP. If I'm applying for a job in the project management industry, they know what a PMP is. It's the most prestigious certification in the industry. It stands for Project Management Professional. So there's no need to identify an acronym if that acronym is well known in your specific industry. Let's talk about your personal strengths. The interviewer is likely going to ask you, what are your strengths? What would you say are your 3 best qualities? So here you can use a transition word. As for my strengths, that's just to introduce the point. As for my strengths, I'm extremely, and then you can list the quality. Now notice here I use the adjective extremely. This is a more convincing adjective than I'm really or very. You want to avoid those common adjectives because they don't stand out, and it's way more convincing to use a stronger adjective in a job interview like extremely. I'm extremely hardworking, which sounds stronger than I'm really hardworking. Let's review some common adjectives that you're going to use, and for all of these adjectives, you're going to use the verb to be and then list the adjective. I'm extremely hardworking, committed, trustworthy, honest, focused, methodical, proactive, a team player. For a team player, you can't use an adjective. You're simply going to say, I'm a team player. You're not going to say, I'm extremely team player. That doesn't work. I'm a team player. Now let's talk about some specific skills you should highlight in your interview. Now the following skills are rated as the top 10 skills that employers want. Of course, the skills are specific to your industry, but you can take this as a general list of skills that would be useful to highlight during the interview. And to talk about these skills, you can say, I have. And for an adjective, you can say, I have advanced, I have superior, I have excellent, and then you list the skill. I have excellent time management skills. I have superior communication skills. I have advanced adaptability skills. The other top 10 skills are problem solving, teamwork, creativity, leadership, interpersonal skills, attention to detail, and work ethic. For work ethic, we have a very specific adjective, and that's strong. I have a strong work ethic. So this is the specific expression for work ethic. I have a strong work ethic. So let's say you want to show off your communication skills. I have superior communication skills. Now let's say the interviewer wants to know why you're interested in this specific position. You could say, I'm looking for an opportunity to further or to develop my X skills. So your project management skills, your teamwork skills, your financial analysis skills, whatever the specific skill is. You could also say, I'm looking for an opportunity to gain experience in, and then you can talk about a specific field, industry, or sector. In the IT industry, in the project management field, in the marketing sector. You should absolutely have a conclusion. Don't just say, thank you for your time. You should leave them with a really strong impression of your skills and your ability to complete the job and be an asset to the organization. So you can say, I believe that, I know that, I'm confident that my extensive project management skills would make me a valuable asset to your company, your team, your organization. And I look forward to the opportunity to contribute to your goals. Of course, you should take this and adapt it to your specific industry or role, but you absolutely want a strong conclusion statement to impress the interviewer. So now you have 50 plus advanced English expressions that you can use to impress your interviewer. I want you to practice in the comments below by answering the question, tell me about yourself, and try to use as many different expressions from this lesson as you can. I can't wait to learn a little bit more about your professional background. Let's keep going, and you're going to learn 25 professional phrases that you can use anytime in the workplace. Our first phrase, I'm on board with that. This is used when you agree or you want to express your support for a suggestion or an idea. For example, we're on board, we are, the verb to be, we're on board with, that preposition with, we're on board with the new strategy for increasing sales. And don't forget to conjugate that verb to be with your subject and time reference.
I'm on board.
Next, are we on the same page? This is used to confirm that everyone has the same understanding, opinion, or viewpoint. After our discussion, it seems like we're on the same page. We all have the same opinion, understanding, or viewpoint. And to specify what that something is, you can say regarding the project timeline. Don't worry about taking notes because I summarize everything in a free lesson PDF. You can find the link in the description. Next, it's a win-win situation. This is a situation where all parties benefit, all parties win. I could say subscribing to JForrest English is a win-win situation. I win by growing my YouTube channel and you win by getting all of these free video lessons to help you become fluent. So put win-win, win-win, put win-win in the comments below.
It's a win-win.
Our next phrase, I could ask, what are your thoughts on this? This is used to request someone's opinion or feedback. You can identify something specific and say, what are your thoughts on the new marketing strategy? Remember, you can replace the noun, the new marketing strategy, with this if it's obvious. Next, we need to think outside the box. Have you heard this one? To think outside the box. This is to encourage creative thinking, innovative thinking. If you're trying to solve a difficult problem, you might say thinking outside the box is the only way we'll solve this problem. You need innovative, creative solutions.
All right, everybody start thinking outside the box.
Next, I love this one. Let's circle back to that later. When you circle back to something, it means you stop discussing it now and you suggest that you discuss it later. So you postpone your discussion until later. You could say, we only have 10 minutes left, so let's circle back to this, whatever this is, your discussion about the marketing campaign, thinking outside the box. Let's circle back to this later. Let's postpone it now and discuss it later. Notice the grammar. This is in the imperative. It's often the case because we use this as an instruction or a suggestion.
Let's circle back to Dina.
Our next phrase, we need to prioritize our tasks. If you prioritize something, it means you organize it based on importance and urgency. So the most important or the most urgent at the top of your list of to-dos because it's prioritized. It's the most important. This is a common situation. We don't have enough time to complete everything, so let's prioritize our tasks. I love this one. Please keep me in the loop. Do you know this one? Native speakers love using it. This is used to request that information or updates be shared as they happen. I could say, I'm taking tomorrow off, but please keep me in the loop on the project. Notice grammatically, this is the imperative because I'm giving you an instruction or a suggestion. You can add please at the beginning or the end of the imperative to sound more polite.
Well, good. Keep me in the loop on that.
Next, have they ironed out the details? This is used to ask if something has been resolved or clarified. For example, we need to iron out the contract details before the meeting. And notice that pronunciation in the past simple, ironed out, ironed out, ironed out. Phrase 10, I'm all ears. This is used to express your openness and willingness to listen. I could say, if you have any suggestions for improving this YouTube channel, I'm all ears. I'm open and willing to listen to your suggestions, and that is 100% true. So please share your suggestions in the comments.
I'm all ears.
Next, let's take a step back. This is when you pause to review a situation or decision. Our marketing campaign didn't work. Let's take a step back. Let's pause what we're doing, working on the marketing campaign, to review it, to make sure it is the right strategy. Let's take a step back. Notice this is also in the imperative for instructions or suggestions. This is a great one. I beg to differ. I beg to differ. Use this when you disagree with someone's opinion or statement. Your coworker could say, the marketing campaign didn't work because we didn't think outside the box. You could say, I beg to differ, which means I don't agree. I beg to differ. The campaign was great. It was our execution that failed.
I beg to differ.
Next, I'll cut to the chase. This is when you say your main point directly, without small talk, without additional details. For example, I'll cut to the chase. You're not getting the promotion. Notice grammatically, the expression is in the future simple. I will cut to the chase. I'll cut to the chase, even though the information you're delivering is now. I'll cut to the chase. You're not getting the promotion. This is a great one. Run it by the team first. This is when you share ideas for feedback and approval. I think it's a great idea, but you should run it by Frank first. You should share it with Frank to get his feedback and approval. And why should you do that? Because our next phrase, Frank calls the shots. This is to say that someone is in charge. They have the authority to make decisions. You should run your idea by Frank because he calls the shots. Notice it's the shots. It's always plural.
I call the shots.
Our next phrase, the ball's in Frank's court. This is used to say it's someone else's responsibility to make a decision, in this case, Frank. Maybe you're talking to your coworkers and someone asks you, should we hire Jennifer as our English teacher? and you don't want to make that decision. So you can say the ball's in your court to give responsibility for that decision to someone else. Remember to conjugate the verb to be because it's the ball is, the ball is in your court.
The ball's in your court.
Next, we need to nip this in the bud. This is an important one because it's when you stop a problem at the early stages before it becomes permanent or more serious. Let's say you have a new policy for a dress code, but none of the new employees are following the dress code. So that's the problem, and you want to stop it in the early stages. You want to nip it in the bud. Grammatically, the verb is nip, and to conjugate it, it's nip, nipped, nipped.
You need to nip this in the bud.
This is a great one. It's not my cup of tea. Do you know this one? This is used to say that you dislike something. Public speaking is not my cup of tea, but it's essential for my career. And remember, there are two correct contractions. It isn't, it's not. You can use either one. They hammered out the agreement. This is used to say that something is finalized. As a question, have you hammered out the terms yet? This is commonly used with agreements, proposals, and contracts. Phrase 20, we're swamped right now.
Dr. Kepner, we're swamped.
This is to say you're really busy. We've been swamped since Vanessa quit. The expression is to be swamped, so your verb is to be, and then swamped is always in the ed form. Next, we'll take that into consideration. This is to say you'll consider something. You'll consider someone's feedback, suggestion, advice, recommendation. Now, because I'm all ears, you shared a suggestion with me. You said, Jennifer, I think you should upload videos 3 times per day. I could say, thanks for your suggestion. I'll take that into consideration. Next, we need to think long term. This is used to emphasize the importance of considering future implications and considerations. I could say publishing videos 3 times per day would help my students, but I need to think long term. Is that sustainable for me? I'll become very swamped very quickly. Next, sorry, I'm tied up. This means you're busy and therefore unavailable. You could say, I wish I could help you, but I'm tied up. I'm already busy with something else and therefore unavailable. Now you can specify the something and use the preposition with. I'm tied up with the budget. Phrase 24, let's put our heads together. This is used to suggest the need for collaboration, brainstorming, or more than one opinion, because the opinion is in your head, and if you put heads together, then you have more than one opinion. If we put our heads together, I know we can nip this in the bud. And finally, phrase 25, to play devil's advocate. This is when you consider opposing viewpoints when making a decision. I could say, I think 3 videos per day is too much for me to handle, but let's play devil's advocate. So now I'm going to think about publishing 3 videos per day and think about what that would take, what my day would be like, just to see if it's possible, and that will help me make my decision. Of course, it's very common to share your opinion in English. Now, instead of saying I think, let me share 40 different ways to say I think. First of all, there's nothing wrong with saying I think. I say it all the time, but I have many other expressions in my vocabulary that I use as well, and my choice depends on the situation I'm in. So let me share all the different alternatives that you need. First, let's talk about everyday situations. Let's take the statement, it's going to rain. Instead of I think, you can say, I'd say it's going to rain. I'd say. This is a contraction of I would say, but native speakers use the contraction. I'd say it's going to rain. You can add to that and say, if you ask me, I'd say it's going to rain. They're exactly the same, it's just something nice we add on. I believe is going to rain. This is the closest alternative to I think, and it's very commonly used. It seems to me that, the way I see it, to me, it's going to rain. All three are used to really show your personal opinion. My close friend always says, I reckon. I reckon it's going to rain. I personally don't say I reckon, but I really love when she says it. I prepared a free lesson PDF that summarizes all the expressions from this lesson, so you can find that in the description and in the comment section. Now you can also say it's going to rain and then add that's my take on it. This is a very common expression, my take on it. Take is your assessment, how you see the situation. That's my take on it. So you first share your opinion or statement and then say, that's my take on it. You can do the same thing with the idiom, that's my 2 cents. 2 cents, that represents opinion. Is going to rain, that's my 2 cents. Now let me share some more formal expressions that you would use in a job interview, a conference, a work meeting, or other formal situations. Let's say your opinion is we should revise the report. Revise means make changes to. We should revise the report. Of course, you can say, I think that we should revise the report. You could also say from my perspective. This is a very common one. It sounds quite advanced. From my perspective, we should revise the report. Of course, you can simply say, in my opinion. In my opinion, we should revise the report. And that does sound more formal than saying, I think. You could say, it's my view that we should revise the report. Or it appears to me that we should revise the report. Keep in mind the word that is optional. We generally use it in written English and we generally exclude it in spoken English, but that's not a rule. So you could say, it appears to me we should revise the report, or it appears to me that we should revise the report. Both of these are correct. Let's talk about some expressions that express certainty. Certainty, 100%. So let's take our statement, we should promote John, Lucky John. Now, if you're 100% certain, you could say, I'm sure, I'm certain, I'm positive we should promote John. You could say it's obvious that we should promote John. You could replace obvious with indisputable, which means nobody could dispute it. It's indisputable that we should promote John. That sounds very firm. I like that one. Indisputable. It's undeniable. It's unquestionable. It's beyond a doubt we should promote John. John must be really awesome. Now let's say that you do want to express some uncertainty or some doubt. So it could happen, but maybe it won't happen. You could say, it's possible that she's going to get the promotion. Instead of possible, you could say it's probable or it's likely she's going to get the promotion. I figure or I gather that she's going to get the promotion. One I really like is I have a hunch. I have a hunch that she's going to get the promotion. When you have a hunch, it's more based on your intuition rather than external evidence. I have a hunch that she's going to get a promotion. I just have this really good feeling. You could say, correct me if I'm wrong, but she's going to get the promotion. But if you say, correct me if I'm wrong, you're admitting that you may be wrong. You could also say, if I'm not mistaken, she's going to get the promotion. Again, there's some doubt there because you could be mistaken. You could say, to the best of my knowledge. To the best of my knowledge, she's going to get the promotion. Let's talk about some expressions that sound more diplomatic. So diplomatic because you might be introducing an opinion that people don't agree with, or that is the opposite of what most people think. So maybe all your coworkers think that John should get the promotion, but you don't. So our statement is, John isn't a good fit. He isn't a good fit. To be honest, in all honesty, John isn't a good fit. Now remember, this is something that a lot of people don't agree with. So you might want to say it with some regret. To be honest, in all honesty, John isn't a good fit. I'm sorry to say it, but John isn't a good fit. If you want to be more neutral, you could say, one could argue that John isn't a good fit. Everyone else is saying he is, so you want to be more neutral and talk about how he isn't. One could argue that my impression is that John isn't a good fit. I saved my favorite for last to be diplomatic, and that's, I get what you're saying, but John isn't a good fit. Now in this case, get means understand. So if you want to be more casual, informal, use get. I get what you're saying, but John isn't a good fit. If you want to be more formal, you can say, I understand what you're saying, but John isn't a good fit. Let's move on and learn 30 ways that you can say, I'm sorry. First, let's talk about some casual expressions that you can use in everyday situations. Let's take the example of bumping into someone at the grocery store and you want to apologize. So instead of saying, I'm sorry, you can simply say, sorry. I know it's a subtle difference, but it will really help you sound more natural to just say, sorry, sorry. You can also add so or very in front of it. So sorry, very sorry. Or you could say, sorry about that. That being the mistake, bumping into the person at the grocery store. Sorry about that, so sorry about that.
I'm so sorry about that.
To help you remember all of these expressions, I created a free lesson PDF. You can look in the description or the comment section for the link to download the free lesson PDF. Another common thing is simply to make a sound effect like oops, oops, whoops, oh no, oh my. And then you don't even have to say anything else because usually it's your facial expression. Oops, oh,
Oopsie.
Oopsie.
Oopsie. Yikes.
Whoops.
Oops.
A slightly more formal one, but that's still very casual, is to say, excuse me or pardon me. Excuse me, pardon me. Those are quite common as well. Let's say that your friend asked you to buy her a chocolate chip cookie, but you bought her an oatmeal cookie. So instead of saying, I'm sorry, you could say, my bad, my bad. This is extremely common in North America, and it will really make you sound like an American English speaker. My bad, my bad. Keep in mind it is quite casual and it's used for smaller things you want to apologize for, like getting the wrong cookie. My bad. You could also say my fault, Or my mistake. My mistake, I got you the wrong cookie.
My bad.
Let's say you want to admit your mistake. For example, you told your friend the party started at 8 o'clock, but it actually started at 7. You could say, I was wrong. So instead of saying, I'm sorry, I gave you the wrong time, you could say, I was wrong. Of course, you can use any of our other expressions, my bad, but one to specifically admit your mistake is simply to say, I was wrong. Often we say sorry if we can't do something that someone wants us to do. So let's say your friend invited you to a party, but you can't attend. It would be very common to say, I'm sorry, I can't attend your party. Instead of saying, I'm sorry, you can say, unfortunately. So replace I'm sorry with unfortunately. Unfortunately, I can't help you. Unfortunately, I can't attend your party. Unfortunately, I can't drive you to the airport. Now let's talk about some more professional expressions that you can use in the workplace or a more formal situation. Let's say you arrive to an important meeting 10 minutes late. Instead of saying, I'm sorry, you can say, my apologies. Now you can expand that and say, my apologies for being late. To make it stronger, you can add sincere. My sincere apologies for being late. To sound even more formal, you could say, please accept my apologies. Please accept my sincere apologies for being late. That sounds very formal. Let's say you made a mistake at work and you ordered 100 boxes, but you should have ordered 10 boxes. Now, in the casual example, we learned I was wrong to admit you made a mistake. In a professional context, I recommend I take full responsibility. This sounds very professional because the word responsibility sounds professional. I take full responsibility for ordering the wrong number of boxes. My sincere apologies.
I take full responsibility.
You could also say, I understand I made a mistake. I'll fix it. Now, instead of understand, you could say, I know I made a mistake. I admit I made a mistake. I'll fix it. So notice you're not just admitting it, you're also offering a solution. I'll fix it. I'll call the supplier right now. I'll get this resolved. So offering a solution is a great addition to admitting a mistake. Let's say that you kept a client waiting on the phone for a long time. Now, instead of saying, I'm sorry for the wait, you can say, I appreciate your patience. So instead of talking about the negative, you talk about the positive, which is the fact that your client is patient. I appreciate your patience. Thank you for your patience. Thank you for understanding. Thank you for holding. I appreciate your time.
I appreciate your patience.
Now let's say that your boss, your coworker, or your client offers you some constructive criticism. So they tell you about something that you're not doing very well. Maybe your last presentation wasn't very good, and they give you some constructive criticism, some feedback. Instead of saying, I'm sorry my presentation wasn't good, you can say, thank you for bringing this to my attention, or thank you for letting me know. And then you can add a solution. I'll work on that. I'll improve that. Or you can even ask them, how can I improve? Can you give me some suggestions to improve?
Thank you for bringing this to my attention.
There's one common idiom that you can use to admit you made a mistake. So remember, in the casual example, you can say, I was wrong. In the professional example, you can say, I take full responsibility. The idiom that you can use in any situation is, the buck stops with me. The buck stops with me. This simply means I was wrong or I take full responsibility.
The buck stops with me.
Native speakers love using idioms, so adding idioms to your speech will help you understand native speakers and sound like one too. So now you're going to learn 50 common idioms that native speakers use. A blessing in disguise. This is when a situation seems bad or unlucky at first, but it results in something positive at a later date. So let's say you get fired from your job. Obviously that seems bad, maybe even unlucky. But later on, you get a job 10 times better. It pays better, you have a better boss, better coworkers, the location is better. Everything about this job is better. You can say, getting fired was a blessing in disguise. My new job is so much better. A dime a dozen. This is used to describe something that is common and not special. So you can say tech startups in Silicon Valley are a dime a dozen. They're very common, they're everywhere, and they're not very special. Everyone's a tech startup in Silicon Valley, a dime a dozen. To beat around the bush. This is when you avoid saying what you mean because it's uncomfortable or awkward. So let's say you want to end your romantic relationship with your partner. Your friend could tell you, don't beat around the bush. Be direct and tell that person you want to break up. Better late than never. So let's say you've been working with a company for 10 years and you finally got your first promotion after 10 years, and you're telling your friend this, and you're a little annoyed because you've been there for 10 years, but your friend could say, better late than never, to remind you that yes, it took 10 years, but it's better than not having a promotion. Better late than never. To bite the bullet. I love this idiom. This is when you force yourself to do something difficult or unpleasant because it's necessary or inevitable. Inevitable means eventually you have to do it, so why not bite the bullet and do it now? For example, just bite the bullet and ask your boss for a promotion. Break a leg. This is a very common idiom that we use to say good luck. Good luck, break a leg. But we especially use this before someone gives a performance. Most commonly a theatrical performance, but when you're going for a job interview, you are in a sense performing. Or when you're doing your speaking exam for your IELTS, you are performing. So before your speaking exam, your friend, your partner could say, break a leg, which means good luck. To call it a day. When you call it a day, it means you stop working for that day. Usually because time is up or because you've done enough work for that day and you're going to stop. For example, it's getting late, let's call it a day. Let's call it a day. So that means you can go home. To cut somebody some slack. So let's say there's this coworker who has been showing up late to work every day and not doing a very good job at work. They seem very distracted, they're not working very hard, they're not contributing. But that person's dad just died. So you might say, let's cut him some slack. His dad just died. So you're not going to punish him as severely as you normally would. To be glad to see the back of. This means that you're happy that somebody has left because you don't like them. So let's say it's Jane's last day at work. She quit, she has a new job, but you didn't like Jane. You can say, I'm glad to see the back of Jane. To be the best thing since sliced bread. This is a compliment used to say that something, usually technology or an invention, is extremely useful, excellent, or high quality. So you could give me a compliment and say, this YouTube channel is the best thing since sliced bread. If you think that's true, then put it in the comments. There are plenty of fish in the sea. So let's say your friend went on a date and she says, Pierre hasn't called me back and it's been 3 weeks. You can encourage your friend by saying, don't worry, there are plenty of fish in the sea. Come rain or shine. This is used to say that an event will take place despite external circumstances. So let's say tomorrow is a vacation day for you, but there's a big project deadline tomorrow. But you might say, I'm taking the day off tomorrow, come rain or shine. To cut corners. This is when you do something in the cheapest, easiest, or fastest way, but by omitting something or by not following rules. So you might say, we felt pressured to cut corners because of the tight deadline. To get your act together. So your parents might say to you or your sibling or someone you know, you're 30 and you still live at home and you don't have a job. You need to get your act together. You need to organize yourself so you can live in an effective and efficient way. Get your act together. To break the ice. This is such an important one because this is used to help people who don't know each other to feel more comfortable around each other, especially when they're meeting for the first time. Let's break the ice by introducing ourselves and sharing something interesting about ourselves. Clear as mud. This is used to say that something is very difficult to understand. So if somebody gave you instructions, but their instructions didn't make any sense at all, and they ask you, so is everything okay? Do you understand? You can say clear as mud, which tells the person you do not understand at all. Crystal clear. Something is very clear and easy to understand. His instructions were crystal clear. To rock the boat. This is when you do or say something that could upset people or cause problems. Don't rock the boat until the negotiations are done. So don't say anything that could upset someone or that could cause problems until we sign the deal. And then you can cause problems if you want to. To get out of hand, this is another way of saying to get out of control, which means you no longer have control over a situation. You could say the party got out of hand, which means you were no longer able to control it. The party got out of hand and some valuables were broken. A bad apple. This is used to describe a bad or corrupt person within a group. You could say, there are a few bad apples in the company. To cut to the chase. This is when you only talk about the most important points of a subject or topic. So if you're running out of time in a meeting, you might say, we're running out of time, so I'll cut to the chase. I'll only say the most important points. To come in handy. This is used when something is very useful for a specific purpose. So if it's pouring rain outside, you might say an umbrella would come in handy. An umbrella would be very useful in this particular situation. To reinvent the wheel. This is when you waste time trying to recreate something that somebody else has already created. So let's say you ask your boss, should I create a presentation for the conference? And your boss suggests using last year's presentation. It's already created. And your boss can add, don't reinvent the wheel. So we often use this idiom in the negative. To go with the flow. When you go with the flow, it means that you do what other people are doing, or you agree with the opinion of others, the majority. So let's say you're having a company dinner and you originally wanted to have burgers, but the majority of people say they want pizza. So you can go with the flow and have pizza instead of burgers because that's what the majority wants. To be skating on thin ice. This is when you do something that is dangerous or involves risk. He's skating on thin ice by lying to his wife. It involves risk. It's dangerous. Don't do it. A silver lining. This is something positive that comes from something negative. So the pandemic is negative, right? But is there anything positive, a silver lining? Maybe we could say one silver lining of the pandemic is that it made us realize how important our relationships are with friends and family. To have a sweet tooth. This is somebody who likes eating sweet foods, especially chocolate. So if people offer me dessert, generally I'll say no because I don't like sweet food. So I could say, no thank you, I don't have a sweet tooth, which means I don't really like sweet foods. To go Dutch. This is when you agree to share the cost of something, especially a meal. So let's say you're having dinner with a friend, family member, even a romantic partner, and they say, I'll pay for the meal. You could say, no, 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 let's go Dutch, which means you're going to divide the cost 50-50. To make ends meet. This is when you have just enough money to pay for essential items. You might say, with food prices increasing, we're barely making ends meet. To ring a bell. This is when something, usually a person, a place, or information, is familiar to you. So let's say you're having a conversation with a coworker and they say, oh, have you met Fred from accounting? And you're thinking, Fred from accounting? That doesn't ring a bell. The tip of the iceberg. This is used to describe a small part of a much bigger problem. These small local protests are just the tip of the iceberg to blow off steam. This is when you say or do something that helps you release strong feelings or strong energy, strong emotion. After our fight, I went for a walk to blow off steam. So when you were on that walk, you were able to calm down, to release that negative energy. A piece of cake. This is something that was extremely easy. That exam was a piece of cake. To be out of the woods. This is when you no longer have a problem or difficulty. Our profits are increasing, but we're not out of the woods yet. To get over something. This is when you recover from an illness. It took me 2 weeks to get over that cold. To not be one's cup of tea. This is used to describe a type or category that you don't like. Thanks for the invite, but camping isn't my cup of tea. I don't like that category of activity. To be loaded. This means to be rich, to have a lot of money. I just found out my cousin's loaded. To nip something in the bud. This is to stop something before it has an opportunity to become established. We need to nip these rumors in the bud before the employees start worrying. Out of the blue. When something happens out of the blue, it happens suddenly and you weren't expecting it. My boss gave me a promotion out of the blue. You weren't expecting it. How awesome is that? To keep one's chin up. This is to remain cheerful in a difficult situation, because in difficult situations, we tend to put our chin down, but when we're happy, we tend to keep our chin up. For example, I know the economy seems bad, but keep your chin up. To race against the clock. This is when you try to finish a task quickly before a specific time. I raced against the clock to finish the audit and meet the deadline. To catch somebody off guard. This is when you surprise somebody by doing something they weren't expecting or weren't prepared for. The politician was caught off guard when asked about the scandal. To be on one's radar. If something is on your radar, it means you're considering it or thinking about it or aware of it. You could say leaving the company isn't on my radar. It's not even something I'm considering. To stab someone in the back. This is to betray someone. To do something harmful to someone who trusted you. She told the client she did all the work on the project. I can't believe she stabbed me in the back like that. To make a beeline for something. This is when you move quickly and directly towards something. So let's say you're at a wedding or a conference and they're about to serve lunch, the buffet lunch. Everyone made a beeline for the food. They went quickly and directly to the food. To be in hot water. This is when you're in a situation where you might be criticized or punished. The politician's in hot water after his comments on gender equality. To be dressed to the nines. This is when you're dressed formally, smartly, or fashionably. We dress to the nines for our wedding anniversary. So you usually dress to the nines for a special occasion. To be between a rock and a hard place. This is when you're in a difficult situation or you have to make a difficult decision. If I accept the promotion, then I'll have to move abroad, and I know Matt, my partner, won't come with me. So I either accept the promotion that I really want, but then I have to lose Matt, or I stay with Matt and I don't get the promotion. I'm between a rock and a hard place. It's a difficult situation. It's a difficult decision. Lo and behold, this is an expression used to say that something surprising happened. I was on vacation in Japan and lo and behold, I saw my childhood sweetheart. So it's very surprising that I see my childhood sweetheart across the world in a foreign city. Lo and behold. And finally, number 50, to let the cat out of the bag. This is when you accidentally reveal a secret. So let's say you're planning a surprise party for your wife or husband or friend and they know about it. You might say, you know about the party, don't you? Who let the cat out of the bag? Who told you? Who revealed the secret? Who let the cat out of the bag? Now you're going to learn 24 colloquial words that you can use every day. To sound more fluent and natural, to understand native speakers, you need to know colloquial English, also known as colloquialisms, simply casual speech. And today you're going to learn 24 colloquial words that you need to know. Welcome back to JForrest English. Of course, I'm Jennifer. Now let's get started. Colloquial English, also known as colloquialisms, is simply informal language used in everyday speech. This includes phrases, idioms, and expressions, and you can use these with your friends, your family, and even your colleagues and boss. As a warning, just know that these may or may not be appropriate for more formal situations. It depends on the specific situation. How does this compare to slang? Well, slang is very informal speech that is often not standard English. And slang is often viewed as unprofessional. Colloquial English, what you'll learn today, is casual but friendly and natural. And I summarize everything in a free lesson PDF, so don't worry about taking notes. Number 1, let's hit the books. Do you know this one? You should, because to hit the books means to begin studying. You could say, I have a big test tomorrow, so I need to hit the books. And hopefully you're going to hit the books by watching more of my videos to help you improve your English. If you agree, put let's do it, let's do it, let's do it in the comments below.
Hit the books!
Well, time to hit the books.
And number 2 is let's do it. To do something, this is a casual, friendly way of saying to complete something. But native speakers use this in many different situations. I could ask you, are you ready to leave? And then you say, yes, I'm ready. So I say, let's do it, which means let's leave. Let's complete that action. Let's do it. So let's practice this. Do you want me to teach you the next expression? If you do, again, put let's do it, let's do it, put let's do it in the comments.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Number 3, yup or yuppers. Have you ever heard yuppers? Oh, this is a great one. Again, I can ask you, are you ready to leave? And you can say, yes, I'm ready to leave. Or instead of yes, to sound more casual, you can say yup or yuppers. You can put it in a full sentence, yup, I'm ready, yuppers, I'm ready, or you can just use that one word, yup, yuppers. And notice that S, yuppers, with an S. So again, question for you. Do you want me to keep teaching you natural expressions? Put yuppers with that S, put yuppers in the comments if you do.
Yuppers.
Yeppers.
Yep.
Number 4, I'll see you at 8-ish. What time is 8-ish? Do you know? Adding ish to the time means around 8. So this could be 7:45 or 8:15. To sound more professional, you can say, I'll see you at approximately 8. That's the more formal way to say around, and the casual way is to add ish. Native speakers use this a lot. We'll be there soon. Well, soonish. This means in the near future, but not immediately. It's a little longer than soon. Just know that ish is not actually a word, but all native speakers understand it.
Shall we say, 8-ish?
Number 5, my bad. You know this one, right? This is used when you take responsibility or accept fault. Maybe you're in a meeting and your colleague says, the chart on page 5 is from 2023. Shouldn't it be from 2024? My bad, I'll change that ASAP. No worries.
My bad, Missy, my bad.
My bad.
My bad.
Our next one is, of course, no worries. You probably know this one. This means it's okay or don't worry about it. Native speakers often use this instead of you're welcome. Jennifer, thanks so much for the new lesson. You might say that. And I can reply to you and say, no worries, no worries. But we also use this to apologize. Maybe you're shopping and you accidentally hit someone with your shopping cart, and you can say, oh, I'm so sorry. And the person replies back and says, no worries.
No worries. No worries.
No worries. No worries.
Everything's all no worries, no worries.
Number 7, no big deal or no biggie. This also means it's okay, don't worry about it, no worries, or it's not significant, it's not important. So again, if you're shopping and you accidentally hit someone with your shopping cart and you say, oh, I'm so sorry, the person can reply back and say, no big deal. This is often used after an expression of gratitude to say it wasn't significant, it wasn't important. Maybe you say, wow, Jennifer, it's so nice of you to provide a free lesson PDF. Remember, you can download it in the description. And I can reply back and say, no big deal, no biggie. I'm letting you know that this wasn't a significant task for me to do, so I'm happy to do it.
No biggie.
No big deal.
Number 8, 100%. This one is very trendy right now. She doesn't do her fair share of the work. 100%. This means I completely agree with you. I 100% agree with you. For pronunciation, native speakers often say 100%, 100%. You can also say 100%.
Yeah, agreed. 100%.
Absolutely agree. 100%.
Number 9, I'm really into yoga. What about you? What are you into? To be into something, this is when you enjoy doing something. You have a strong interest in something. This question is commonly used when you're getting to know someone. So if you're on a first date, you can ask the person, so what are you into? And he replies back and says, I love rebuilding cars. It's my passion. Just notice a verb of preference, love, is commonly used to reply to this question. So what about you? What are you into? You could say, I'm really into learning English with JForrest English. Aw, thanks so much. Notice that structure. Verb to be, I am, into, and then you have your verb with ing, learning English. If that describes you, again, put let's do it, let's keep learning, let's do it, put let's do it in the comments.
Right now, I'm into yoga.
I'm really into fashion.
Number 10, let's Uber it. What does this mean? This means let's take an Uber. Native speakers frequently turn nouns, Uber, into a verb. A native speaker would commonly say, I'll email you, I'll WhatsApp you, I'll Zoom you, using them as verbs. Remember, you have to conjugate the verb with the subject and time reference. Last night, we Ubered to the conference. Last night, we took an Uber to the conference.
I Ubered. What'd you Uber?
I'll email you the address.
Number 11, that's wild. This is used to show surprise, amazement, or astonishment. A lot of Ubers won't accept my ride because I live outside of the city. This is true. You can reply back and say, that's wild, which means I'm surprised.
That's wild.
That's wild.
Number 12, really? With a question, really? This is also used to show surprise, amazement, or astonishment. I don't get Uber Eats. It won't come to my area. Also true. You can reply and say, really? And you can even add, that's wild. Put them both together.
Really? Really, really.
Number 13, shoot. This means ask your question. Jennifer, I have a question about number 11. Shoot. Ask me your question. Jennifer, can I ask you a question about number 5? Shoot. Yes, you can ask me your question. Number 14, give me a shout. First, notice in the last one, shoot, pronunciation, oot. This one, out, shout. Shoot, shout. This means call me or contact me. Give me a shout when you land. Give me a shout at 8-ish.
Give him a shout.
Give us a shout.
If he pops out, give me a shout.
Number 15, can you flip me the invite? To flip means to send electronically. You flip someone something, just like you send someone something. Can you flip the team, someone, the invite, something? You can also flip something to someone. Same with send something to someone. Can you flip the invite, something, to the team, someone? Number 16, now let's look at the invite. Can you flip me the invite? Invite is a shortened form of invitation. To invite is a verb. She invited the team to the party. An invitation is a noun. Have you sent out the invitations for the party? An invite is a noun. Have you sent out the invites for the party? Notice, because it's a noun, it has a singular or plural form.
How to send you an invite?
I can send you an invite if you want.
Number 17, I'll flip it to you in a sec. In a sec means in a second, which is a short period of time, soon. You can say, I'll be there in a sec. You can also get someone's attention by saying, do you have a sec? Do you have a small amount of time? Maybe a few minutes in this case. And I can reply back and say, yep, yepers.
Here in a sec.
Wait, you in a sec.
Wait a sec.
Number 18, she's a newbie. A newbie is a new member of a team or a group. You might say, can you show Sarah how to file the reports? She's a newbie. Or your boss might say, keep an eye on the newbies while I'm gone. What about you? Are you a new member of this community? Have you recently subscribed or started watching my videos? If you have, then put I'm a newbie, put I'm a newbie in the comments. I love newbies. I'm happy to have you.
She's a total newbie.
I'm a newbie.
Sure, newbie.
Number 19, my study routine is dialed in. To be dialed in means to be fully optimized or perfected. And here, dialed in functions as an adjective. So is your study routine fully optimized, perfected? If it is, you can say, it's my study routine. It's dialed in. If not, you can say, I need to dial it in. In this case, it's the verb. I need to dial it in. I need to perfect it, optimize it.
How dialed in were you?
Number 20, I'm crushing it. To crush something means to do a great job. So if you're enjoying this video, you can say, Jennifer, you're crushing it. You're doing a great job. Do you agree? If you do, put crushing it in the comments. This is a verb, so in the past simple, you would say, I crushed the job interview. I did a great job.
I'm crushing it.
Yeah, I'm really crushing it.
Exactly. See? I'm crushing it.
Number 21, I'm loving it. You probably recognize this because of McDonald's. McDonald's slogan is I'm loving it. And notice loving it. Now, this technically breaks an English grammar rule because love is a stative verb. So you would say, I love this song, even if the action takes place right now. But McDonald's popularized this, so now it's very friendly, casual, and acceptable to say, I'm loving this song. And by putting it in the present continuous, it emphasizes that the action is taking place now.
I love it. I'm loving it.
I'm loving it.
I'm loving it.
Number 22, learning English is a piece of cake. You know this one, right? To be a piece of cake means to be very easy. Maybe learning English is a piece of cake when you have a great teacher. If you agree, you can say 100%. So put that in the comments.
It's a piece of cake. Piece of cake.
It's a piece of cake.
It's a piece of cake.
Number 23, we shot the breeze in the elevator. To shoot the breeze, this is to make small talk, so to have casual, light-hearted conversation. Notice those conjugations. Shoot, but in the past, shot, and the past participle, shot. You might say, my neighbor and I always shoot the breeze when we take out the garbage. We see each other and we have a light-hearted conversation. We shoot the breeze. And finally, number 24, you're on fire. To be on fire, this means to perform well, to do a great job. I could say, you just added 24 common and natural expressions to your speech. You're on fire. So let's celebrate this. Put I'm on fire, I'm on fire. You just did an amazing job. Put I'm on fire in the comments. Congratulations, you just added 600 words to your vocabulary. Amazing job. Make sure you like this lesson, share it with your friends, and subscribe so you're notified every time I post a new lesson. And you can get this free speaking guide where I share 6 tips on how to speak English fluently and confidently. You can click here to download it or look for the link in the description. And I have another masterclass I know you'll love, so make sure you watch it right now.